Good Monday morning, Sonar family. Jules here, and this is the Monday after the weekend of the UK Drum Show. And Gabs Dornyei was over there reporting back for us. And there's some things I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen the video of Todd playing the Momentum series, and we'll come back to the Momentum series here in a few minutes. And Gabs is playing his SQ2s, which I did see some videos of that. But Gabs is a great guy, and I really appreciate him sending those videos back for us. Anyway, just kind of kept us in the loop a little bit on a different level than we might have been otherwise. A surprise or a thing of interest, I guess I could call it, for me was the fact that the Momentum series was the only revelation at the UK Drum Show. I believe there's a lot more stuff coming. I kind of expected them to release another 150th anniversary product. Maybe we've seen all we're going to see. If we have, I think there's going to be some really disappointed, if not really pissed off folks. You know, that there's just been for such a big anniversary, just hasn't been a lot of product for your run of the mill Sonar guy. There was a lot of opportunity to do stuff with the 150th anniversary snare drums that they either haven't done or haven't yet done. Really, the only thing they've done that was not, I mean, short of a $5,500, cast bronze, was the compressors that were specific in the States to Guitar Center and Musician's Friend and maybe Music and Arts or whatever their other sister company is. But I mean, that was just a rebadged standard product anyway, so there was nothing unique about that. But let me come back to that too. So let's see. I really still feel like we're probably going to see some new pedals and hardware, within the next year, maybe less. I would really be surprised if we don't get some new not artist series, but artist signature snare drums. There's one particular artist I have in mind, and I don't want to say anything about that because there may be something in the works on that, and I don't want to. It's one of those things where it's kind of quirky. I've known that the SQ1s and Prolights are going away for a spell now, and it gets kind of there's a lot of gray area when you know a little bit that's official, and then you kind of put pieces of the puzzle together, from different things you see and hear and people you talk to and all that, and so it gets kind of funny, kind of peculiar, I guess, when you can't talk about this, um, but you've kind of put together the information solid enough through you know reliable sources, but not solid information to the point of you know we'll tell you this, but you got to keep it to yourself, sort of thing. So there's a lot of area in between those two, and I try not to. I don't want to blow it for anybody, first of all. That's a big thing is I don't want to sit here and tell something and then kind of ruin the surprise for somebody. So even though this particular artist I'm thinking of, I really think we're going to see a snare drum or maybe more than one snare drum come out as an artist signature model. I guess I should just say signature model for this particular artist. Um, it's not official, but I don't want to sit here and you know speculate to the point of it not being a surprise for folks or not being as exciting when it does come out. So you got to be careful about that sort of stuff. So um, and luckily the information I'm getting is limited. I say luckily, but it's the same thing. It's just kind of um, with the Momentum series. I was anticipating because I was told I would get literature ahead of time. So what I would have liked to have done, what I really would have appreciated was getting the information and then when it got released, having put together a video that made sense and was, a little bit better, a little bit more tightly wrapped, I reckon, um, than what I threw out the other day about the momentum because I got it at the last, I got it offline off the internet. It came out and then on the website was the brochure, and then I got sent the brochure, the PDF file, hours later after it was published on the site. And by that time, I already had all the information, and I was actually already on round two of trying to put together a video. So, um, that's the only reason I hope to going forward be in the loop on this stuff is just so I could put together a better video. And the thing is, what makes my videos different than what Sonar's going to put out is I'm a 40-year fan of the company, and I've had my finger on the pulse of their releases for a long time. And you know, they're, I don't want to say sterile, but the information they put out is not opinionated. It's dry facts. Here's the product, here's the inspiration, here's, who we think is going to appeal to or whatever. And I'm not speaking specifically about momentum. I'm just talking about in general. Um, but they're not gonna say you know, we're close to the highlight series on this, which is what I did in my video. In my video, I go back and I look at it from a fan standpoint, and in some cases with criticism, um, I'm not so sold out to Sonar as a company as we've seen in the past, elsewhere, that everything they do is just A1 absolutely perfect. And there's an example of something that I disagree with wholeheartedly, but we'll come to that. But that's the thing is I'm not, you know, um, I'm allowed to have my own opinion because I'm not an employee. I'm barely even on their radar. They barely even give a damn that I'm doing what I'm doing, apparently. So anyway, moving along from that, um, Prolite snares. I have also known for a while that the Prolite snares were going away and that there is no immediate plan to rebadge those or keep them in the line. Um, Speculation on my end is they are so over the top thrilled with the compressors that that's their focus. The compressors have been out a couple of years. They're performing very well. They are very nice bread and butter snare drums. Um, you know, I don't know if we're supposed to pretend that they're on the same order as the snare drums that have got the dual glide throw and butt and the hella hoops or whatever. I am not going to subscribe to that mentality, though. I'm just not going to do it. Um, the compressors, you can replace the throw off with the dual glide throw. And if you want to put hellas on there, you can do that. And they fit great. And who was I talking to recently? It'll come back to me later. But there's an artist that actually uses compressors and he puts the hellas on there. And one thing about the dual glide system is even if you put hellas on there and the dual glide throw, the butt plate won't fit. The butt plate is just all, the mounting part on the shell is incorrect, and you don't have a good curvature, or say curvature, you don't have a good break on the snare cord to have the proper articulation and all that. Trying to use the dual glide throw off in place of the throw off that comes on the compressors. But the thing is, with the way that the cutout is in the bottom of the Hellas in the current iteration of the Hellas, and this is the third way they've made these over the years, you don't have to have the release on the butt to be able to use the quick release to change your heads. Um, Even if you just do it on the throw, you can lay the whole apparatus over there with the butt still attached, or the cord to the snare butt still attached, and have full access to take off the hoop and the head and the snare side head. So it's still a fully functioning system, although you don't have the adjustability and all that. So maybe at some point they'll come out with a an adapter plate Or you know what? Even if they came out with a new butt plate that maybe it didn't have the full capabilities of the dual glide, but it did offer a disconnect, that could make it easier if you are somebody that wants to change out the full wire set. I'm not. I've never been in a situation before where I was like, you know what? The next song's coming up. I sure wish I could do a quick change and change out my wires completely on the fly. I think that's a great thing for those who would use that, but for your typical drummer, I don't think it's that big of a deal that both ends separate for the purpose of changing out wires in the middle of a gig. If I'm wrong on that, put it in the comments. I'm happy to be wrong. Always happy to have a differing opinion. Um, I try to be respectful. I just hope everybody with that differing opinion has, is respectful as well. And then whoever does or does not agree with them, let's continue with the respect there. So apparently, all the cool metal snare drums that have got the dual glide system and the Hellas are going away, at least for now. Whether or not they're going to return, I don't know. So, you know what? That said, no better time if you want to have a factory fresh Prolite snare drum, no better time than right now to grab it. They do come up on the market used from time to time, but I know some people out there like me like popping that box open fresh from Germany, knowing that nobody's gone in there and screwed anything up, dropped that drum or whatever. So uh, put the snatch on one if you find one. And we're going to move this thing along. Momentum series. A few things about this. First of all, as I said in my video the other day, which you may or may not have seen, um, you got three different wood types in the same series for the first time ever. You've got four finishes. So if you're somebody that likes a different wood for your bass drum than you do your tom toms, and then say you want a different snare drum, you can do all that with this series with matching finishes. You've got a wrap, which is beautiful, even though I'm not a wrap guy. You've got a veneer that I like a whole lot, and you've got two of the matte finishes carried over from the SQ1s. So for anybody that's not really familiar with the Momentum series yet, here's a quick rundown. Basically, what you're looking at is you're looking at SQ2 medium shells. So you've got 9-ply shells at 6 millimeter thickness throughout, be it snare drums, bass drums, toms, floor toms, whatever. And um, those are very popular in the SQ2 lines. You've only got four finishes to start with, but we'll talk about the numbers in a second. I'll come back to that. Because got to keep in mind, this is a fresh release and it's October 19th, and they're saying these drums are going to be available worldwide in mid-November. So you're looking at having to, uh, you're looking at filling a lot of orders around the globe. And so you may see an expansion. You may see some of these go away too. That wrap might turn out to be not such a hot seller. It might, and I'm not saying there's a reason it wouldn't sell well. That's not the point. The point is, any particular finish they've got might underperform or don't, not quite meet expectations. At the same time, if they're really tearing it up on the matte finish, you may see an expansion there. You may see some new veneers in the next couple of years. You just never know. But um, as far as the series itself, the basically what you're looking at is, and this is another one of those things. If I'm telling something wrong, by all means, let me know. Um, the Basically you're looking at it that it's almost like the Pro Light with a new shell. The Pro Light had the vintage maple shell. This has got the medium maple shell. And the only other thing different is that you've got the SQ1 floor tom leg brackets that have really nice isolation. I've gigged with those. I played with them at church. Um, some people had some complaints about that stuff, but personally, I liked it great. Your tom mounts and all that are still specific to what the Pro Lights were. And on the forum and elsewhere, I've seen where people were talking about they were like almost like ready-made SQ2s, which to a degree they sort of are. They don't have APS all around. They've only got the APS pieces specific to where the tom mounts join to the shells. Um, and they don't have the Acoustigate. So if the Acoustigate's important, this doesn't have that. You know, you could either buy the Momentum and look for an SQ2 mount with the Acoustigate, or you could just go ahead and get the SQ2. Um, what may be of interest, it'll take time to see this, is whether or not the Momentum series impacts SQ2 shells or sales, not shells, SQ2 sales or not. Um, Personally, and I'm going to come back to a lot of things. Personally, I'm probably going to order an SQ2 um, sometime early next year. I'm working on getting something together to get that going. And for me, the Momentum series is not going to replace my interest in the SQ2s, um, in part because of the depth of the bass drum shells. I have the Vintage series. I had an SQ1. I had a Vintage before, and I really like the 14-inch depth. So when you're looking at a 17 and a quarter, I think it is bass drum depth on, and maybe it's 17 and three quarters. I forget. But at any rate, it's beyond 17 inches. And, um, that's kind of power drum size, or it is power drum sizes. And then you've got the shallower toms. And it's kind of funny when you see the market has gone with shallower toms over the years. And yet these freaking cannons of bass, of a bass drum, um, they seem like they don't quite go together. But you know what? If that's what the market's calling for, you know, who am I to argue with it? Um, Another complaint on the forum is that all the bass drums have no mounts. Well, let me speak to that. Um, as it stands right now with the bass drums and snares and all that stuff, there are 13 different shell configurations just in dimensions. Okay. Then when you add three different materials, the beech and the birch, and let me not skip that. An improvement over the SQ1s. The SQ1s were European birch, and the Momentum series is the Scandinavian birch, and the Scandinavian birch was the same premium stuff they used on the Sonor lights and they use on the SQ2s. So you're looking at an improved wood on the Momentum over the SQ1s. So, you're looking at a step up from the SQ1s, even if you go with the birch. So, back to what I'm trying to say here. So between the birch, the beech, and the maple, that puts you at 39 different shell options. Then when you stretch that out to the four different finishes, that is 156 different shell configurations between finish, dimensions, and woods. So if you've got, let's just throw a number out there. If the American distributor, U.S. distributor orders 10 of each, that is 1,560 drums they have to look for a spot for, not to mention all the pre-configured shell packs as well. So, my point with that is that to add all the bass drum options with a mount would exacerbate. I'm glad I didn't screw that word up because I cut up a lot and I have some alternative words that I'm bad about spitting out accidentally. And luckily I didn't do that. But that would just add more that they've got to build in Germany to ship worldwide. That's more SKU numbers for the company to keep up with. And apparently the market prefers no mounts over mounts. Plain and simple. If you want a mount, you can get one and install it. The one thing I think that Sonar falls short on is you can order the mount, but there's nothing else to go with it. There's not even a paper template. If they offered a template with that, and maybe the point is maybe they don't want the consumer doing this. Maybe they'd rather you take it to a drum uh, drum shop, or a professional drum builder or something. Because just imagine how ticked you'd be if you get the thing and then you realize you had installed it backwards, which I can be an airhead and I could see myself doing something like that, or you did something else and just didn't think it through, and so next thing you know. But one thing that would help with that is if they did offer a template that just showed you that for this particular series or maybe for this particular drum depth, a factory standard installation would be from the edge of the or from the bearing edge and obviously dead center of the topmost lugs. But I don't believe they're doing that. I've got a fly in here. I've had a mount, and I've actually had two. One was a vintage, and one was this one that would go with the momentum, or D light or pro light or whatever. Um, and they just don't come with anything to help you out there. And I think that's one thing they could do that would help quash some of the frustration with them not offering these drums with a mount. So, um, I think that kind of wraps it up for us for the momentum for right this minute. Hopefully, we'll find some good video with good sound of Todd playing the Momentum series. He had a gong drum and the whole bit at the UK Drum Show, and I hope to come up with a video. I haven't found one. When I do, I'll add it to a link somewhere, or I certainly will post it on the forum. I can't say this enough. You need to join the forum. You need to join the forum. Links in the description. Go check it out. If you can get to everything, you can see and do. You can see everything. You just can't reply as a non-member, but you really need to join because you may see something you want to reply to, and because of a little bit of a spam issue, I've had to fix it where I have to go in and approve everybody. So if you're if you're hot and heavy to reply to something and I'm not sitting here staring at the computer, it could take a few hours before your approval goes. I get to put your approval in. And by that time, you might have moved on or even forgot about the forum. So go ahead and knock that out pretty quick. So when you're ready to do something, you'll be able to do that. All right. So another thing I'm working on here, I've got interviews sitting in the queue waiting to get finished. I'm trying to work something out with a new sponsor, and right now the deal is for a particular video. It's the Aaron Holler video, and this would be the Symbol Fusion would be the sponsor on this. Waiting to get some details hammered out. Whenever you see mention of Symbol Fusion or see them sponsoring a video or whatever, if you already buy from them, even if the video didn't spark your particular purchase, even if you were going to do that with them anyway, please let them know you saw it, just so they know there's getting exposure. And by all means, if you're prompted to do business with them because of a video or the mention here, please let them know that. I am deliberately not doing things to cause you trouble watching videos. I have an option to inject some, random advertisements into the videos, and I would make money off of those. But I don't appreciate having to sit through the damn things, and I'm not going to put you through that either, even though I'm not getting monetized at all for any of my content at all right now. So, um, I'm missing out on money. So when I've got somebody like Symbol Fusion sponsoring anything, it that's going to help me out recover some of my money. I'm sorry, got an itch going on here. That's going to help me, fund some of my time and effort. And the more I can do this, the more fun it's going to be for me, and the better my content's going to be for you. But I've still got the bills to pay too, and so moving that along, I've got to part out some drums. I've got this highlight exclusive gong drum that is still never been played. Never. There's not a drumstick mark on the heads, and I can't sell it complete. So I'm going to start parting that out. I've got a 14 by 10 phonic oak tom tom. The hardware is pretty clean. The toms may be mildly pitted. They may just need a polish, and I'll find that out soon. But I'm going to park that out. The shell is fantastic. I'm really disappointed nobody's bought this thing, not just for the monetary advantage of selling it on my end, but this is a great shell. And somebody may wind up getting that and converting it to a snare drum or something. We'll just have to see. I've got other stuff that'll be out in a separate video that will also be on the forum. I just can't stress enough to join the forum. But I think that's about to wind us down for today. And I hope you have a great Monday. Through the week, I may have more content come out as as things come up and as I find more videos and all that from the UK drum store or drum show. I'm sorry, this freaking fly driving me nuts. But we'll just see what happens. And if nothing else, I'll see you Friday morning. Hope you have a great week.